Hello, everybody. We're back at it again here. And in today's topic, I want to talk about doing your own taxes. Now, doing your own taxes, I'd probably say for a vast majority of people, is probably a pretty simple thing to do. It's either just inputting your 1099, inputting your W-2, and just kind of putting that in the tax return, and everything can be done for you. Some other people, it's a little bit more complicated. And what I mean by that is, people think that and is that even the most complicated tax returns can be done by themselves. And a lot of times they're going to just end up winging it just to try to get it done. A very good piece of advice, especially if you're a busy person, is to get help, ask questions. A lot of people, what they'll do is that they'll do it themselves and they won't research every single scenario that may help them out and get them beneficial tax benefits. So I guess in this segment, I really want to talk about, a lot of people are kind of like confused because it's a gray area if they should maybe hire somebody to do the tax return, or maybe a situation that's out of their their realm of capabilities. Maybe they can kind of wing it and do it themselves. Well, today I'm going to talk about, what is in bounds and what is out of bounds as far as doing the tax return. So probably a good first scenario is if you're selling your primary residence. So in doing that, not a lot of people sell their primary residence. So let's be honest here. I mean, how many times do you sell it? Once every 10, 15 years? And if that's the case, it's just not beneficial. I mean, you don't do it every year, so you're not going to know it. And for most people that are not in the industry, you probably end up doing taxes once a year, your own. So knowing every scenario, everything, what to do, what not to do, just a little tip. I mean, if you're single, you can exclude up to $250,000. If you're married, it's up to $500,000. You can take out tax free. But I do this for a living, so I know this just out of research and doing it every day. Another one that if you're considering selling in like an investment property or vacation property, I would definitely recommend it because there's a lot of moving parts in that thing, and if you don't do it right, of course you'll pay too much in taxes. And there's a lot of adjustments that you can do to lessen that burden. So I would definitely look into as far as maybe hiring somebody in that situation, adjusted basis, things like that, depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. That can definitely lessen your tax burden and probably could offset the fees you pay in hiring somebody. So definitely look into that. Number three is starting your own business. I would say in this situation, unless you're in the bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, or financial industry, definitely look into hiring someone for this. I always tell people that taxes are not done at the end of the year. They're done every time you make a transaction, whether it be starting a business or anything else for that matter. So buying a house, or some of the previous examples I've done, or selling a house, this may be a good example as far as just the taxation. Keep that in mind. I think it's very important. So taxes, it's a process and not an event. So every time you run your credit card or debit card or pay cash or whatever, that's a taxable event. So and really for most people, doing bookkeeping throughout the year as opposed to the end of the year is really the best option. I can tell you firsthand, a lot of bookkeepers, they get people's information at the end of the year. That's not the best time to do it. The best time to do it is every month. That way, if there's any questions, any concerns, you can just answer it then and there, as opposed to, hey, you have this transaction that's kind of vague from 9 months ago. Do you remember what it is? Not really. And that's true for a lot of people. So don't get caught in that trap. I would say another good example of why hiring somebody may or may not be better is you have significant K-1 income. And, right off the bat, I mean, if you don't know what K-1 income is, hire somebody. But if you think you can wing it or it's really simple, you can try, I guess. But, like I said, I mean, if you're busy doing whatever you're doing, if you're in partnership, you're a business owner in another business, just hire somebody. I mean, you make the money. I'm sure you can go out and find a reasonable person. Um, it's just really knowing how to put it. If you put it in the wrong place, put the wrong amount. And a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just fat finger something, do a 6 instead of a 9. And if the income is significant, well, guess what? Boom, you're getting audited by the IRS. And it's all just because you made a simple mistake. Well, guess what? The IRS doesn't look on sympathy, and I know with all the stuff going on recently in society, sympathy with those making a good amount of money, and they're going to say, hey, look, you really should have hired somebody, and shame on you, person making $800,000 a year, for not knowing better. So, like I said, I mean, if you make a significant just pay somebody. Don't get involved in that, trying to wing it or trying to do your best. And just pay somebody. Here you go. You take responsibility. You submit it. You deal with it. Any errors, you take it off your feet. That's basically all there is to it. Another example of maybe why or why not you should hire somebody as opposed to just doing it yourself. You're planning a large gift. And by large, I really mean anything above, like an annual gift exclusion, and that's really anything above $19,000. That's of 2025. Anything above that, you start to get forms. Most people, when you tell them, hey, do your 1040, they know it's taxes, but they don't know what Form 709 is, which is the gift tax. This goes back to, I mean, don't make things overcomplicated. Just hire somebody. I mean, if you're doing that large of a gift, you can probably pay a couple bucks. Say, hey, just get this done for me. Check the research online. Do this, do that. And you're busy doing other things. If you're giving away above $19,000, just pay somebody. It's easy. Just don't get involved in trying to do it yourself. I'd say another good example is you receive an inheritance. And this is kind of just having a cool hand when you receive money. Now, I hope and pray everyone out there gets a lot of money in inheritance, and it's all through good means and happy accidents as opposed to something else. But usually, when you're getting inheritance, it's usually a cause of great distress. Somebody died, or somebody's giving you money, or with that, you're going through a lot of emotions. You just got a big inheritance. Well, and a lot of people go a little crazy and they get overconfident. And when you do that, you kind of get cocky. And when you get cocky, you make mistakes. And well, guess what? The IRS sees this, and let's just say, for example, you got $1 million, and they say, well, you know what? This person has $1 million. They can afford to hire somebody to read the research and put it on the right form and know the values and etc. So just hire somebody. I mean, if you got an inheritance, pay a couple bucks, it'll get it done for you. I would say number 7 is you have a taxable estate or an irrevocable trust, and you're not going to come along this often, but when you do, just hire somebody. I mean, it's typically when you hear the word trust, you hear rich people or somebody with a ton of money. And that is true for the most part. And there's certain one-off situations where you may need it, but you don't have a lot of money. But this kind of gets back to what I was telling you about. I mean, if you're making a decent amount of money, or if you have money in the trust, just hire somebody. Don't make things complicated. Don't make things, keep doing whatever you're doing to get that trust, or whatever it is that irrevocable trust, and let somebody that does it all day take care of that. Number 8 is if you have dual citizenship and you have foreign assets and income. A lot of people don't really take this into account. They think when it's in another country, it doesn't count, and when it's in a bank account that they think the IRS doesn't have access to, it's incorrect. The IRS has access to a lot of information. My advice is, just with them, stay as boring as possible. Don't do anything colorful or, derivatives or change numbers around, this, that, whatever else, and quote unquote think you can get away with it, because you can't. There's a bunch of very smart people at the IRS. Just keep the numbers boring, and they have access to everything, report, and in the United States, it counts any and all foreign income. So even if it's made in a foreign country, you haven't seen a bank account in 5 years, or you haven't done the job in 5 years, but that income somehow is still flowing to you, you have to count it. So this kind of gets back. I mean, if it's complicated, confusing, and you just want to do it and be done, just hire somebody. The smartest thing you can do. Another instance is where you earn income in multiple states. So one of the things that people don't know is that you can use state expenses to offset, state like fees and penalties to offset your IRS income. And I mean, if you're going in between states, obviously you're very busy, so you don't have time to look things up, research things. A good example of this is NFL players. So NFL players, they have to pay income tax for each state that they work in. So let's just say there's anywhere from 10 to 15 games a season, and all those are in different stadiums in different states. Well, so for those 15 games, they have to do 15 different state income taxes. And of course, those all kind of go together into one IRS tax return. So it gets a little complicated. Some of them may be self-employed, or may be able to deduct those expenses and mileage and Schedule C and Form 709, et cetera. In a case like that where they're busy doing their thing, they're running the football, doing this, whatever else, signing contracts, they don't have time to research all the knowledge in doing that. That's where you just say, here, take, Mr. Tax Return guy, take the tax return, do it, make sure it's done right, and the penalties, I might take off your fee, and hold them responsible for doing it. Last and not least is if you're divorced or getting divorced and have joint assets. This is where things, get a little bit complicated. This is where attorneys, this is where accountants, this is where notaries, this is where everyone, of their select field kind of gets involved. And, a lot of words are thrown around that you may or may not understand. And, certainly you're going through the grief of a divorce is, just have somebody else handle it. You're going through a lot of emotion, a lot of problems. What's mine, what's yours? And, you're trying to be as normal as you can and carry on for your kids or this or that or whatever else. Just, in the situation like this is where you just say, hey, deal with it. I want it done. Do it the best you can and go from there. Anyways, a little bit about me. Myself and my wife, we run Metro Bookkeeping Solutions, www.metroacc.com. We have over 15 years of experience as far as in the industry, all in any sorts of businesses, and also personal as well. Check us out. Until next time.